Further investigation, which now morphs into informed guesswork, even wishful thinking, yields an Elizabethan high-flyer, a godless poet, a homosexual, a secret agent, and finally, a name. The most famous playwright in Elizabethan England, Christopher Marlowe is still remembered for the lyrical rhetoric of "Was this the face that launched 1,000 ships?" and perhaps for revolutionizing English theatre. Familiar to Shakespeare and his contemporaries as Kit, he is the author of poems like The Passionate Shepherd to His Love, and plays such as Dr. Faustus and The Jew of Malta. Yet, more than 4 centuries on, Marlowe and his work can seem as antique as oil paint on wood. This putative portrait is an image I grew up with. My father, Michael McCrum, was the senior tutor of Corpus Christi College when, in 1954, an undergraduate brought him some dusty pieces of scrap he'd rescued from a skip, an obscure picture of a young man in 16th century dress, which he thought might be of interest. Since Marlowe was born in 1564, my father later recalled, the dates fitted, and the Latin motto seemed appropriate. So it was possible that this was a portrait of the playwright, an alumnus of the college. We took the picture to our resident medievalist, who insisted that it should be cleaned and restored. Since then, although there has been no further proof of identity, the picture, which hung for many years in the college hall, has become the accepted likeness of Christopher Marlowe. It's a haunting work of art, widely reproduced, that acts as a poignant reminder of a life cut short by sinister violence. Marlowe's melancholy image also suggests a greater truth, namely, that the deeper we enter this singular universe, the more remote it becomes. Indeed, it's chiefly the language and literature of Renaissance England which links us to a society so distant, strange, and potent as to be simultaneously enthralling yet unknowable. This anonymous portrait, which is almost contemporary with the year of Will Shakespeare's hasty wedding to Anne Hathaway, provokes many questions. None is bigger than this. How is it that one 16th century English writer no longer enjoys even a fraction of the acclaim he knew in his prime, while another continues to speak to us from day to day almost as our contemporary? Today, Marlowe and his work are familiar mainly to specialists. The dangerous aesthete, who is a perennial topic of conspiracy theory, remains a tantalizing source of academic speculation, whereas Shakespeare will always be Shakespeare. 2. My question is, how did this happen? Why does Shakespeare live on as one of us, not merely in Britain, but across the globe? Posterity is fickle and literary afterlives capricious, but Shakespeare's universal fame is spectacular and unprecedented. What is his secret as a vibrant part of modern culture, as well as a touchstone of English, American, and even the world's literature? How did a young man who grew up in rural Warwickshire, who did not go to university, who forged his early career paying Marlowe the sincere tribute of imitation, and who died at the age of 52, far from court or cloister, become not merely Shakespeare, but also the global icon for something far more influential, namely, that quality we call Shakespearean? What follows is a highly personal inquiry into the making and perpetual remaking of the greatest writer who ever lived, in relation to his time and our own. This investigation explores the paradox that, where Marlowe subordinated much of his art to his life, and is remembered accordingly, Shakespeare sublimated experience through art. In his plays, indeed, art and life become inextricable and timeless. I will argue that today, in finding so many points of relevance and sympathy, we are closer than ever to Shakespeare.